Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision, the podcast by EO Nashville, by and for entrepreneurs. This is where we talk about all the fun things that we as entrepreneurs do, building, growing, and dealing with all the things that happen when you're the guy or the gal that is responsible for everything at the end of the day. That's one more introduction that I've added to my repertoire, Robert. Mr.
Yes.
Robert Hartline, my partner in crime. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And with us today, Leslie Murphy of Maude Interiors. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me.
You brought some energy with you too. I mean, we sat in front of that energy monster over there, but this is going to be a special time.
Oh, I love it. I love being here. Just so grateful to Robert. I love being here in this studio. I've had just so much hospitality, rolled out for me by you and by Rachel. Just really grateful for the friendship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My first interaction with you was on Instagram.
Yeah. And that was like random, right? You're like, who's this girl?
And it was like such a thoughtful message to me.
Yeah.
And when I read it, I was like, yeah, that's just the person that I want to connect to. And I was marketing my decision experience, and you had expressed some interest, and we started chatting, and I was like, now that's a conscious entrepreneur, and that is what I'm seeking. I want deeper relationships with other entrepreneurs that isn't just surface level. I don't want to talk about your P&L. I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about cool shit you're doing, in your life, in your business. And that's how you kind of came under my radar. And it's fun to get to know you. And I do this retreat in Costa Rica, and Leslie was kind enough to come along with us. And it was just a really good time. Being in Costa Rica and having a good time, and then learning about you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that was interesting. I saw that Instagram post, and it was like conscious entrepreneurship. And I was like, well, damn, that's who I'm trying to be. That's what I'm working on every day, is trying to be more and more conscious and present. But really was looking for how to take it to the next level. Right. And something about your post just really stuck out to me. And so glad I made that decision. One of the best decisions of my life, because it shifted so much for me. It really made me think about my business and my life, and what I value and how I'm showing up in the world.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And you had a big decision, because you came from Memphis and you came all the way to Nashville.
Yeah.
And there was a reason you moved. What was the thing that brought you here?
Well, I'd had a career, an interior design business in Memphis for over 10 years, and had built, really great, just cadre of people who were working with me, and great connections to, the builders and architects there. But I was starting to really seek, really looking for, what is next for me, and how do I really step into, like this next level? And I felt like Nashville was calling me for a number of reasons. I mean, it just felt like the creative market was booming and exploding. And, I had a lot of great friends in the music industry, and felt like, okay, this could be a step in the right direction where I can kind of continue to evolve as a creative and really step into entrepreneurship more fully. Nashville has this great brand of being like super high on the entrepreneurship scale as a city. So that was really compelling too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say the vibe, Memphis and Nashville, what's the differences that you see?
Well, that's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, I feel like in Memphis, it was more sort of, for me, I did a lot more work that was suburban, a lot more high-end residential work that was kind of in the burbs, and beautiful work, worked with some great people. In Nashville, I'm getting to play in a lot of different pots, and it's not just residential. It's now, I'm a member of a development team, and we're building 154 residences over near Fisk University. And so I'm just getting to play in more sandboxes, if you will. Yeah.
And what does that look like to you? Like, I'll just tell you a quick experience here, because you happen to be with me in Costa Rica. I just built a new home.
Yeah.
It was my first time to stay in that home.
Yes.
And I go inside the house and I'm like, why do I feel so good in this house?
Yes.
And I was like, this is so weird. And it was the first time that I ever invested in an interior designer to pick out all the stuff, because I'd never done that before. And I'm like, for like a day and a half, I was like, I don't understand this. I do not understand why I love it so much, why it feels so good to me.
Yes, I love that.
And I was like, so I got on WhatsApp and I reached out to my girl. I was like, what the frick did you do in this house? Because I cannot figure it out. And she goes, oh, well, they were laying the foundation. I put crystals in all the corners of the thing and I blessed every single room.
Yes.
And I did it. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was something you do, you know?
Yeah.
And when I told you about it, you were like, of course, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, and I think she took it to a really beautiful level, but I think, it's certainly not standard. Not all interior designers are crystal gridding, that property, but it is something, like when you're working with energies and really trying to create a space that's going to bring a lot of joy or peace or calm or even healing. We work with these different modalities sometimes that help us accomplish that. And whether you know it or not, we have some tricks up our sleeves sometimes, and as I've sort of moved into this new way of designing where it's really, it's more about, I call it elegant sustainability. There's a conscious component of it too, but I think about what are the ways I can really make someone feel amazing in their space? How do I help someone create a space that's really sacred to them, where they feel the best they can possibly feel? And it is interesting. It's not just about acquiring pretty things, right? I mean, there's a way of designing the space where the energy flows through it really beautifully. There's, using biophilia to create like that interaction with, the plants and create interaction between humans. And, we're even thinking about scents and what does it smell like? I remember that, there was Palo Santo in your home in Costa Rica, and it was like, there was thoughtfulness put into the energy of that space and how to really create that joy. And that's exactly what you felt. She did a fabulous job.
Yeah. And I just didn't even know it was I thought it was like picking out stuff to put in the house, but it's not that. It's like so much more.
Yeah. I think it's that, and it depends, for some people that's what it is. It's, I need to pick out furniture for a home, but, for us, and for me, as I've evolved as a human, I want the things that I do in this world to have meaning and like to be able to give an experience to someone that makes their life a little bit better. Like that's it for me, like that feels really good. And sometimes clients know that we're using these kind of different modalities and we're thinking about, okay, every piece we acquired for this home, like a human with a soul made that. And we actually know the person who made it. Or, we know that it was acquired minimally, like no harsh labor was used in the making and acquisition of these things, right? Like we're really thinking about doing good at every step along the way, in addition to like, what's going to make you, Robert, or you, Eric, feel like the best when you sit down in your chair at night, And, for me, it's like, it's a luxury to get to be in this business. And if you get the opportunity to make somebody's life a little bit better, like, heck yeah, that's a good job, Well,
I think it's an amazing, like, it was just surprising to me. That is what you do. Yeah. Like in making the space feel different and feel special.
Yeah.
And how that could just enhance, so it's made me think about like my workplace. I mean, some of those influences were brought in here when I made this and what I was trying to accomplish. And, this idea of this consciousness.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation about consciousness. What does it mean to be a conscious entrepreneur for you?
Yeah. So I think I am that's ever evolving for me as I become, it's kind of like the old adage, like you do what you can until you know better, then you do better. Right. And it's like you learn a little bit. It's like these 10-degree turns to being the best that you can be. And I do not pretend to be perfect. And certainly if someone were to look at old pictures, they would be like, well, that is not a green product, and that is not a sustainable, and that is not a conscious product. Because sure, it hasn't always been this way, but it's these micro turns towards living in alignment with your values for me. And I've actually just moved out to a farm, and I'm really connected to the land and having an experience of wanting to be a steward of the earth. And so I'm always thinking about, okay, are we working on being as efficient, and are we working on taking care of the planet to the best of our ability? Are the products that we're bringing in, do they have a commitment to the same? Are their manufacturing practices, in line with our values? And then as we look to what's sort of like in the foreground, like, the chairs and the art and the things that are living sort of with us in the foreground, to the extent that we can acquire those things from people we actually know or families we know, and we know that they loved them. They loved making them. Like that changes, the energy of the space too. And that's a conscious choice that we're making. We're saying we're going to put our money in the hands of those who are treating their employees well, who are thoughtful about their practices and policies. And it doesn't cost you, the client, really much more to make that decision. And sometimes you don't even know it because we just made it for you, So it's kind of a great gig.
Yeah. And I would say that knowing that that's the experience that you give when you're doing their space, you automatically feel better about the space, knowing it's treated with respect. And it's actually made me consider, like, when I go into new spaces now, like, how do I feel in this space?
Yeah. Yeah.
And not how do I feel, but how do I feel in the space?
Right.
Which is like an added nuance to thinking about our energy and, especially like when I'm in a space and a new person walks into the space, how do I feel with that person in my space?
Right.
In the space. So it's like, I got into the telepathy tapes. Oh my God.
I love
here
it.
we go.
Dude, I don't know if you guys buckle up. If you're listening to this and you haven't watched the telepathy tapes, it is about severely autistic kids that are nonverbal. Can, listen to what their parents are saying in their minds. They can read minds, and through the course of listening to the rest of the episodes, you'll learn that the parents start to discover they have the same abilities. Yeah. Which is, and
I love the discussion about materialist thinking versus the alternative that so many people, especially in science, believe that if you can't touch it, feel it, and measure it, that it doesn't exist.
Right.
And this completely challenges it. And
Absolutely.
the people in those fields that poo-poo the idea of telepathy have tried to ruin the careers of people who have discovered this. And I hope that in the coming decades that this becomes normalized and that we understand more about it, because it's hard to understand. If you can't touch it, feel it, and measure it, it becomes difficult to grasp it. But there is a realm beyond what we can see and feel.
And it's given me this new level of permission to leverage a skill that we all probably have, but we don't even think.
It's a muscle we don't know we've got.
Yeah. And it's like, when's the last time you've, send positive energy to somebody you loved as a normal practice?
Yeah.
No, it's like, okay, maybe prayer. You could say that, but to actually bring that consciousness in your business and in your morning when it's 3:30 in the morning, I've started this new practice where I'm just kind of groggy, kind of waking up. I'm cozy in bed and I'm like, I'm going to send some love to some people I'm going to be meeting today. I'm going to give them some love. I'm going to love on them. I'm going to think about them. And it could be a hard conversation I need to have somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and have that conversation. I'm going to, bring in some energy. I need some assistance. I can't figure out this little problem. I don't know X and Y, and it's got this equation. I don't know what it is. Anybody up there help me out a little bit?
Yeah.
And it's given me like this new perspective. And it's like, now there's a skill I got to learn here.
Yeah. I think that with the telepathy tapes, it is it's very mind opening, that there may be more than this material world that we are all so accustomed to. And I certainly, I have never been more sure of anything in my life, that there's absolutely something more in dealing with and working with energy. It's so profound, like how it changes your experience of the world when you're sensitive to that energy. And, doing what I do and designing and thinking about the energy of spaces, I've become more and more sensitized to energy and how all of that works. And, I think it's just the telepathy tapes, it's taking it to another level. They're talking about the energy of being able to connect your thoughts, right? And like being able to, it's like connecting to this greater, consciousness that's there and being able to give and receive. And from that, and it's like, wow, at some level, we've all experienced that, but maybe have never been confronted with it in such a dramatic way as expressed on the telepathy tapes, right? There's no chance that you haven't. I mean, if you've been with your partner for 20 plus years, right? There's no chance, or a best friend, or, your mom, your sister, there's no chance that you haven't had an experience where you were like, I just read their mind, or she just read my mind, or he just read my mind. Like, it happens all the time, and there's no denying it. Yep. It's just kind of going, wait, that really was not a coincidence. Like, right. That was not a coincidence. That's real. That happens. It happens to all of us. It's normalizing that. That's really the way I think about sort of tiptoeing into this world in a not so scary way, right?
And we tend to think of it as coincidence.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's at some point you have to realize that other world exists, and when you connect with somebody else, especially at a deep level, that there's a different level of communication there that neither one of you can really understand, but it exists.
Absolutely.
And I think now is about time for me to announce my new business.
Are you going to start reading minds for a living?
Well, I've acquired some people with autism to come outsource with me. And they'll come in your business and read your customers' minds and tell you things that, how cool would that be though? Like, I want that.
And at the risk of, I don't want to ruin the telepathy tapes for somebody who might be listening to this who hasn't heard it yet, but just the idea that these kids were able to learn things in ways that nobody could document. Like they
and they're savants. They are wildly intelligent.
And because they couldn't control their bodies and they weren't like us, that everybody just thought that they didn't have any knowledge.
Yeah, I cried just about every episode. I felt so compelled by these children and how special and amazing they were. And, people saw them as, incapable of anything. And it couldn't be further from the truth. They were so connected, and we have so much to learn from them. And it's a great lesson. You really have to, we do not know everything. We have to really check ourselves on, like there's more to meet. There's always more than meets the eye here. These children are here to teach us things. And it's about really leaning into the beauty of that and like the innocence of it too. It's just so special and pure, the way that they're showing up in the world. And if we can just listen and give them the space, they can help lead us to a brighter future.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was blown away by the patience that these kids had, because in many cases they were discounted for many, many years of their life, but they didn't act out. They just
continued. And these parents discovering they could have a real relationship with their kids. That's emotional. To see how they have this guilt too, because all these years And I'm just thinking about all the families that this show is going to help,
Mm-hmm.
and how terrible the education system has treated the teachers and people that are really trying to help. And they're doing just horrible things and keeping these gifts under wraps.
And it goes to that concept of, well, we've always done it this way. And that these teachers that were highlighted on the podcast are pushing back on that and have been in many cases punished for it. But hopefully this will open up a lot of other people's minds and help explore this world.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to it, we're obviously big fans. Like, everyone go listen to the telepathy tapes. I think it's just a really beautiful example of how there's more than just this material world, right in line with, what we've been talking about all along. Like, there's just more than meets the eye.
And a lot of that is tapping into intuition.
For sure. And I think
turning that on. Have you developed? I just know this question. I already know the answer to this, so I'm going to ask it anyways. But I've watched you evolve into developing a better skill of intuition.
Yeah. So I think we all have innate intuitive abilities. I think that when you sit with it and really spend the time, meditating and in your practice, you receive more. You receive more of the ability, and it starts out as just a feeling, like a knowing, and then it does evolve to feeling like something else is helping you make that decision, and it's you had the answer before the answer actually came, and it's something that's it's difficult to explain, but it's beautiful to live in an intuitive way and to feel guided in your life. And I feel very blessed that I can access that.
Now, how do you go about now, when you're going through your business life and you're coming up to a decision fork in the road, you got to decide A, B, or C. What direction do you take? How do you navigate making important decisions?
Yeah. So, the decisions are, at this point, it's like, are they in alignment with the ethos of our business? It's really important to me that we are doing things not just for the economic reasons, but for reasons that are deeper and more meaningful. And a lot of times, I turn down jobs now if it's just based on, it's just a true economic, proposition. If people want to do good work and want to bring beautiful things into their home that are well made, and they want to have joy in the experience, that's minimally what we want to do. It's less about this rampant consumerism that it used to be for me. Like, frankly, I used to work with anyone and say, oh yeah, we can do it cheaper and make it look more beautiful, and we can go get it from China and we'll order it and online. And it was just about chasing the money, and it was a little bit of a hamster on the wheel type of a scenario. And now it's like, how do we reduce that consumerism and still do really beautiful, elegant, sustainable design? And yes, let's get some beautiful things, but let's make sure that, they were made by a person with a soul, or, maybe there's a vintage find, or, maybe there's a unique way to think about curating this space. So, we're driven a little bit more by the experience now and the emotion that we're creating.
So if you were a new member in EO, knowing what you know now, how would you go about immersing yourself in EO to get more value out of EO?
Yeah, well, I really still am sort of a new member in EO in many ways. And I'll say I started in a remote forum when I was doing a lot of time in Mexico. And I was like, well, I want to be a part of this group. It's so special. And, everyone I knew from EO, I was like, I really love them and I admire them and I like what they're doing in the world. And so I wanted to be a part of the group. But being in Mexico so much, I didn't really have the ability to be in a personal forum. So I did that. And I think for some people that is great, but I've just now gotten into a forum where it's, I sit across the table and look these people in the eyes.
Like real life?
That real life people.
Well, that is the way to do forum, I tell you.
And that has been, that's been a game changer already at this early stage of just, again, like feeling the energy in the room.
Right.
Looking at people's, expressions and seeing, like how they're coming into the meeting, into the world, into their day, and being able to use some of those intuitive gifts to connect with people. Like that feels really important to me. But I think one of the cool things that I've done at EO is there are these phone calls. You do these Zoom calls with they're not in your forum. They're just people, who are part of this let's get to know you call system, right? Like one-on-one meetings. And I've met so many freaking cool people that way, and it's just like, I think the opportunity to meet with other like-minded individuals who are going through some similar struggles, like it feels really, really important. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to in this new year? Either personally or professionally?
Such a great question. It's, I think that I'm looking forward to personally spending time on my new farm. I bought a farm in Goodlettsville. I still have my house near 12 South, but the farm in Goodlettsville for me is becoming permanent home. I'm going to, rent the other one out and make this my residence. And in talking about connecting to the earth and sustainability, it's presenting me with some really unique opportunities to do that. It's got 2 old barns, and one of them I'm going to be restoring for horses to do equine therapy. And the back of the barn will be a greenhouse. And so the horses will put their nose through, have their food trough, and the greenhouse will be on the side, and it will be the carbon dioxide from their breath will feed the plants, and it's a true biophilic moment.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'll have a little art studio out there with them. So I'm just creating my own little
that's exciting.
amazing oasis.
Sounds amazing.
Can't wait to see this. Yeah.
Costa Rica may have had a profound and permanent impact on me. The way they think about the relationship with the earth and the animals and the plants. I mean, it's really powerful how that sticks with you. Right. How that continues to show up, in my life, even now, and I hope forever. Right.
Yeah. And it's one of the things about having animals in a space.
Yeah.
And horses are different though. A horse, they have such a big presence, and they just, it's just fun to look at a horse and just watch a horse move.
Yes. Beautiful. And I'll tell you, so this is a longer term goal. Today, we're making the house energy efficient, things, very practical things, new HVAC, for example, things that really help you sort of, contain your footprint. That's what I'm doing now. So the horses are probably a longer term goal, just trying to get myself to a sustainable situation there now, looking at solar panels, looking at, what is my water source going to be, really taking this walk to get to a very sustainable life out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're setting the example then.
Well, I am, I'm learning as I go. I don't pretend to know I'm not an expert at any of it. I just have a heart for it, and I'm willing to take the walk.
Leslie, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
So if you're in Nashville and you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for your tribe, you're looking for some people to be like you, driven people doing cool things, having dreams, having some ambition, having a vision for your life, and you want other people to talk about those things because it inspires you, maybe you should check out eonashville.com and find out how over 300 of us get together. One of the largest chapters in the United States is right here in Nashville. Please come join us. Please visit eonashville.com. Hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.